a flower left behind. A message hidden in plain sight. Who is the Red Flower Stalker? Red Flowers Lane, a mystery that demands answers.
In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, there's a peculiar street known to locals as Red Flowers Lane. At first glance, it seems like any other ordinary street, lined with neat suburban houses, each adorned with a well-kept garden. But behind its seemingly peaceful facade lies an unsettling mystery. One morning, a resident named Carol Benson discovered a fresh red flower placed on her doorstep. Carol, a middle-aged librarian known for her quiet life, found it unusual, but didn't think much of it. 2 days later, she vanished without a trace. When Carol's disappearance hit the news, the residents of Red Flowers Lane felt a wave of unease. As the days passed, another red flower appeared, this time on the doorstep of the Wilson family. Within 24 hours, Emily Wilson, the youngest daughter, was gone. The street was now gripped by fear, as it became clear that the flowers were more than a mere coincidence. They were a sinister omen. Detective Laura Monroe, an experienced investigator with a reputation for solving cold cases, was assigned to the case. As she delved into the disappearances, she noticed a disturbing pattern. Each household that received the flower had deep secrets, hidden away from the world. But how could these secrets be linked to the disappearances? Was the perpetrator someone who knew these secrets? The media dubbed the perpetrator the Red Flower Stalker, and rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed it was the work of a vengeful spirit, while others believed it to be the twisted act of a scorned lover. But no one could explain the precision and eerie silence surrounding each abduction. It was as if the victims vanished into thin air. Detective Monroe found a common thread among the victims, a shared connection with a local community event that took place 5 years earlier. The event had been organized by a woman named Margaret Cole, a once prominent figure in Maplewood known for her charitable work, but Margaret herself had disappeared a year ago under mysterious circumstances. Could her disappearance be related to the current string of vanishings? Just as Laura began to piece together the puzzle, she received a note at her office. It was written in elegant handwriting and delivered in a small red envelope. Inside was a single red petal and a message that read, "Not all flowers bloom for beauty. Some bloom for vengeance." The cryptic message added a chilling new dimension to the case, suggesting that the disappearances were more than just random acts. They were part of a calculated plan. But why the red flowers? Was it a personal signature, or was there a deeper meaning behind it? As the investigation unfolded, Detective Monroe discovered that the victims were not as innocent as they seemed. Each one had been involved in Margaret Cole's charity, but it wasn't charity that brought them together. It was a cover for a scandal involving embezzlement, betrayal, and the tragic loss of a young girl named Ruby, Margaret's only daughter. The charity had been a front for laundering money, a scheme orchestrated by Margaret's once trusted allies who had left her bankrupt and disgraced. Ruby, devastated by her mother's fall from grace, took her own life, an event that was buried by the town's elite to protect their reputations. Margaret disappeared soon after, leaving behind only a note that said, "For every wrong, there is a reckoning." Laura's investigation brought her to an abandoned warehouse near Maplewood's outskirts, where she found traces of the victims' belongings: a bracelet, a scarf, a photograph. The warehouse seemed to be a gathering place for someone who had been watching the residents of Red Flowers Lane for years. The final clue was a faded photograph of Ruby, with a red flower pinned to the corner. Detective Monroe eventually discovered the truth. Margaret had not vanished. She was the one behind the red flowers. She had been living in disguise, orchestrating the disappearances as a form of twisted justice for Ruby. But instead of simply exposing her former accomplices, she chose to make them disappear, one by one. In a tense confrontation, Margaret, now older and frailer but still sharp, faced Detective Monroe. "They took everything from me, Laura," she said, her voice calm yet filled with rage. "Now, I'm taking it all back." Laura, torn between sympathy and duty, tried to reason with Margaret. "This isn't the way," she pleaded. "Ruby wouldn't want this." Margaret's eyes filled with tears as she replied, "Ruby wanted justice, and this is the only way I knew how." In the end, Margaret was apprehended, but her final words left a haunting question in the minds of everyone in Maplewood. Was justice truly served, or was it merely revenge? The case of Red Flowers Lane remains one of Maplewood's darkest mysteries, leaving a trail of unanswered questions. The case of Red Flowers Lane remains one of Maplewood's darkest mysteries, leaving a trail of unanswered questions. Was Margaret right to take matters into her own hands? Could the victims have truly atoned for their pasts? And what would you have done if faced with such loss and betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more unsolved mysteries that blur the line between justice and vengeance.